And do we have anyone joining us?
Rebecca's online.
Barbara was going to, but
Rebecca?
Waddell. We have a lot of Rebecca's lately.
So we don't appear to have a quorum, do we? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Got the 4.
We do?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
so I don't know if his vote,
Mike
his
is on
vote
board,
counts.
and you are yet to be appointed, correct?
Oh, that's
I don't know. Haven't been.
No,
I've submitted.
So it's a case of timing the select board to,
So the select board.
Yeah.
At their last meeting, they changed that we have a new name change for the committee and they asked people to re-express interest. And they're going to reconstitute a Madomic River Community Park Committee versus
Yeah.
what we used to call the committee,
Wherever that
whose
was.
name we can never, we are not speaking anymore.
which I think the last time will just be for this YouTube video being titled.
Yes.
Right.
So,
So next Tuesday, I anticipate them making appointments to the newly reconstituted committee. With new parameters of what they're charging the committee with and everything, because we're kind of going in stages now, so.
you know, if they've gotten new beyond the people that are re-upping here.
A couple.
Okay, good.
oh, good,
Mhm.
good. Glad to hear that.
Oh,
Do we have?
One of which is Alex.
Yes, very good. In other words, you're one of the nominees for the reconstitution of the,
Right, you put in an application, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So the
application's a bill?
Well, for existing members, all you had to do was send me an email that said you were still interested.
And you did get one.
I got one from you, one from you, one from you, one from you.
I'm in advance.
Not yet, I'll do it.
I gave you a fully.
You gave-
Full application, full new
You
application.
gave me a full new application. You were,
Very good.
you are above and beyond.
Well, I was submitting to the record all of my,
You are like, yes.
Oh, well, I didn't. Okay.
very good. That said, and Susan joined us now, welcome back. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I should comment that because of my absence, I made no adjustments on my side to the agenda. I wasn't here, so do we have any adjustments? We have grants, review the status of the website and a signage issue and discussing the rename committee authorization.
And just the next meeting date to change.
Oh, yes, but that's a hangover. Thank you.
Yeah, just June, was that 10th maybe,
Yeah, thank you.
or 9th?
So with that, you can approve the minutes. Take a look at those, please.
I had one tiny change.
Janet has a change.
To section 5VII, which I didn't print out the minutes, but it said something like including photos such as a child digging. I feel like that's the photo we should not include on the website,
Yeah,
only because
I
you're
don't-
not supposed to dig everywhere.
Yeah,
So I just
there's a
thought,
picture of a child digging.
no,
that was a
no,
suggestion
I,
to
yes, I
include.
hear you. I don't think it should be.
yeah, so I'm just suggesting we delete. it,
Yes.
Such as a child digging as an example.
Yeah, although technically in the minutes, it was just brought up for discussion. It wasn't
Right.
actually submitted for the website.
No, but
So-
it shows that we're not really, I mean, there's so many other things a child could be doing, so I'm just suggesting that, because they aren't going to be allowed to dig everywhere.
That is true.
So is it an alternative picture that conveys that a child could have intermittent nominal contact with the earth that is appropriate? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
children-
we're putting together the images, so I'm sure the children playing, I'll probably talk to Susan.
Yeah,
In terms of
tons of pictures.
images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would find something that's very
Such as
robust
children
and
playing
welcoming.
Okay.
outside, I don't know.
Yeah.
So for the record, we're simply deleting the word such as a child digging. Using the part period.
Yeah. That's what I'm suggesting, just because it's,
I agree.
for those who are upset, like country people, that could be a red flag.
Okay, well, that said, we have a request. Someone's, I guess, seconded, do we approve these minutes with that amendment?
With that amendment?
Mhm. Okay, yes. Okay, so we're approving that. Thank you very much. That's just a deletion. Nice. Very good. So the agenda. We can go right to Max and Julie, please.
Well,
Town updates first, I guess.
I mean, for grants, it's still the same as last month. I'm working with the Yellow Book appraisal. We've, I could show when, I actually. Yeah, I guess I could show it on this map that, I have pulled up for Carl. This is what you want, right?
Yes, thank you very much.
So I'm working with the Yellow Book appraisal folks, and what we'll do is have this 24 by 24 northeast segment where people can enter in. That will be what we put into the conversion. So we can't get a grant in the future to put recreation or items on there. That's something we're gonna have to do to get back in compliance, but we don't have to do that immediately. We can still pursue the June grant for everything else on the concrete pad and the whole site. But talking with the Yellow Book appraisal people, we're reviewing to see if this is just as valuable as the tennis courts over at 80 Gray. The 24 by 24 block should be more than enough. So that's just the progress I have on the grant. And we were discussing just before the meeting that still haven't heard anything from National Park Services, so unless Susan has,
Uh-oh.
please tell me it's good news.
Yeah.
So I'm involved in another project with the National Park Service and RTCA. And they were asked to wrap up our project and it ended on Friday. And in that meeting, I also heard that they are not starting any new projects right now because of the threat of, well, they've already lost some funding and positions, but they might lose more.
Is it on hold or just a point? We're not.
It's,
We
I think it's just on hold.
just on hold.
Yeah, I actually was curious if they let anyone know. If
Till
that,
midterms.
Uh,
Till midterm.
We hope so.
So.
We hope.
Wow.
Well, on hold means it's not happening.
yes,
So-
that, and yeah,
Okay,
I mean, unless that information was,
well, we haven't heard. yet,
Right, and
So,
I'll
which is
try-
actually supportive.
Yeah, I'll try some phone calls again tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
when I'm back in the
Yeah.
office.
So
and, I mean,
pending and hopeful.
there is a possibility that it's not all regions, every project, and they're letting some go through, so we can keep our fingers crossed, but
Sure.
that wasn't especially optimistic.
Yeah, the New England district of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was particularly hard hit. And we're reeling up here at Rockland now with our national park, national wildlife refuge. So, you just kind of wait and hope and see what happens. So we're waiting. Under grants, I can tell you that we met about the Main Trails Bond Grant Program, whose application will be, the deadline is September 16th this year. The first tranche of $30 million is going out in $7.5 million units. The first this year. And working with Max and Julie, I hope that we're going to be able to, and Will Pratt of the Department of Public Works, I hope that within the next couple of months, we'll pull together a grant application with enough detail and credibility that we'll be able to share it with everybody. The maximum that you can apply for under the main trail bond program is $250,000. And Julie's suggestion is because of the requirements to integrate every possible connected piece, Julie would like us to go out and survey a spur to the approximate Hofstas area, roughly, and to fine tune all the requirements to develop the single track path through the entire forest, including those resting points and our interpretive points along the river.
What do you mean by single track? Just the hiking?
That's the
track?
hiking piece in
Okay,
the
I've
woods
heard
for
that.
for the able-bodied.
Okay,
Yes.
You want me to pull the map up for that? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's be done with it. Sure, thank you.
I like the idea of the spur to Hofstas or the field behind it or whatever.
It was something I hadn't considered. It seems to be appropriate.
There's a big gully in between you have to think about.
Are these online, Max?
Hmm?
Are these online, these?
This map is not online.
No, not yet. So
So I'll just stand up here for a minute and then point out that this was our barrier-free component, which is the most constructed and expensive piece. This is our single track with the woods. The big gully in here, that's why we said we could come all the way up here. There's a big gully in here, so we come all the way up here. And there's a nice resting point, magnificent oak tree, real 200-year-old tree, resting area, crossing, resting area, crossing, and another viewpoint that others previously identified allows you all to look all the way up towards the store landing and see the village. So it's a nice point, nice destination. It's an out and back. And then a return by the able-bodied on a single track. Single track is just, you know, a slightly improved hardened surface from time to time, otherwise just native grade. Occasionally, and here we happen to have a point where we might put some steps, you know, basically 2 foot long, 2 foot deep, like 4 foot wide steps to transition. Because we don't want to create a trail that also erodes away. We don't want to create a maintenance problem for ourselves, and we don't want to impede the average walker. And then, of course, we designed the trail last year to combine both the abled and the less abled on this segment here. Departure. And then reconnecting here for a while and then returning separately. So what was Julie's suggestion that we reconnaissance a spur somewhere to bring us up to Hofstas?
Actually, it was Max's.
And is that just
I
if
think
for
it
some
was
reason we
Max's,
repurpose
Just so
that?
we can, just so that we can use the grant money to also justify tearing down the house.
Okay.
And for good use too.
And for good use.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
My theory was if we're going to apply, why don't we apply for the whole thing?
Yeah.
Don't leave money on the table because you might only get one bite at this apple.
Right.
And I say the Hofstas house was the big thing, but it is also so we can have maybe an area right over where the Hofstas house is, just to connect to the trail as well, just as another option. That's the only.
And you're absolutely right, because people will access this part as cyclists and pedestrians from the Frenchman side.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they?
Right.
And lastly, in the application, I already have some thoughts about this, but there's some fine tuning. Again, a field reconnaissance is necessary. That whole segment of where you access from parking, you access along that foundation. We need to look at the comfort, ease, the convenience of it, and the aesthetics of it. And there's no reason why we can't use some of the burden, overburden that's removed here to perform some of our side dressing and edge of foundation slope concealment. So we need to design this before we come up with some dollar figures that we're confident of.
How exact do your dollar figures need to be, or how specific does the application of the dollar figure to the components of the project have to be in order to apply?
You may have a better sense of that. I talked to Doug Beck about it, but you may have a better
It's
sense.
good when we have
More
someone with
specific.
experience who's done this. I mean, if I was to just say this will be $1 million, Doug's gonna wonder how I came up with that number.
Okay, so the more detail, the better.
The more
is all
detail,
this.
the better.
Okay,
Yeah, when in doubt, justify your
right,
expectation.
okay.
And I think we're already, based on the last preliminary that I did, we are approaching $250,000.
Okay, and the other components in terms of identifying the rest stops, the interpretive sites, that's also just to make a stronger application.
You're talking about the 4 point,
Well, these points, I mean, like, they could be there, they could be a little bit around
There
there.
could be, they don't have to be.
I'm just saying,
exact.
this is just to show the robustness of the project,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
I mean, the trail design was done. You were working on this before the trail bond even happened as a
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right from the get-go.
And I wouldn't go so far, Michael, I would go so far as to, there's a line item, just, you know, a placeholder presently while we create this.
Okay,
This grant. I would go so far as to design the text and interpretive signage for historic property markers, the history of that stream edge, that, you know, the commercial uses there. I go so far as to design those signs and the text and.
I mean, suggest what they might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Integrating it with the effort the town's doing.
yeah, I could do that. I just want to know that it's useful for the application.
It would be, I'm sure of it. I'm sure.
The one thing this is maybe too much, but if you have that spur to the Hofstas, I could see just a little loop, another little loop, because that's, you've got all those.
Yeah, it could be a loop.
Fields.
It's a field. It's a nice
And
place.
it'd be
to walk
nice
through.
to have, you know, if you want butterfly things or whatever, just, it's different than the
Yeah,
woods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the nice things environmentally about a meadow is you're not going to disturb the pollinators,
Right.
you know, and there's little or no actual meadow dependent nesting birds in a place where human beings will be. So, you know, we can exploit those fields for the aesthetics.
Yeah.
okay, so
Just-
when does that application go in?
It's due the
September.
16th of September.
Okay, so we have until then to gather all this information and.
Max likes to have stuff a little in advance.
That's good.
And they had advised to have it done. Start working on it now with like,
Sure, I just need to get a rough idea in my mind of like by August, mid-August.
yeah, like August is probably when I would be hoping we can start getting the final draft in.
Got it. So by the end of July.
So will the Hofstas site also be auxiliary parking? Or could there be?
I don't
That
think
would-
we've really determined.
That's like way in the future.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
no,
it's
but
gonna
I mean-
be, but at least we'll have some type of a trail there. If it is parking or if it's used for another component, whatever it's used for, there'll be a trail.
To it.
It could just be it could just be. If someone's walking up or biking up from Friendship, they just turn off there and that's
Right.
their access rather than having to walk or bike
Exactly.
all along to the entrance and then there, they just turn off here.
I thought it was a great idea, Max.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I do
The
too.
winner. It's a winner. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
But that was Max's idea, it wasn't mine.
Oh, yeah, I didn't remember, but I'm glad to include.
I'd love to take it, I love to take credit for it, but it really was Max.
And I don't take credit in case it turns out horribly.
It's right there.
There's your own credit.
And I should mention that Will Pratt did participate in our preliminary meeting to represent Public Works because they're gonna be doing heavy lifting on this, either is
Implementation.
implementation side.
Okay.
It's a big thing. And I tell you one thing, because this is comparable to grants I did in Delaware, these folks, fresh out of the gate, don't want failure. We should be a very credible applicant with our resources and the history of planning, the diligence that's been performed by this committee and its predecessor. That we should appear very credible. And I only noted 2 other municipalities on the 93 member Zoom webinar. So
Who were the other groups?
well, it was mostly a trail. From west, east, north, and
Okay.
south, but there were only 2 other municipalities who participated in that webinar.
And then the money is to be used to create these trails, but depending on the organization, like a town would maybe use their own public works, but then if money was given to a trail organization, they would be hiring people to?
Exactly. They made available a list of contractors who have
Oh,
done trail
got it,
work throughout
got
the
it.
state,
Okay.
particularly mostly downstate. So yeah, that's sort of an expectation that if it's a major application, there's a contractor involved.
Okay,
Well, municipalities, you know, can do more with their internal resources.
and then this is, the cycle of this is when would the money go out and be received?
25% can be forwarded in the same fiscal year, with 75% having to be expended by the end of the second fiscal year of the project.
Okay,
26, okay.
Oh, I should mention, sometime, you know, just give me a ring and a couple of us can, without a whole big formality, go out there and poke around and try and figure out this
yeah,
loop spur.
yeah, let me
Yeah.
review my ideas for the history, intersections.
Yeah.
And then once I have that in my mind, I can go out with you.
Yeah, it'll be very helpful. And there's certainly no hurry here. We want to be patient and take our time. All right, thank you very much. The website.
Okay, so, this was what I was able to get done today, so it's not perfect yet. And it's not all pictures, but, I've tried to put it in a place where it could be unhidden for a short period of time. So this is like the first page, because pictures are limited of it, nice pictures. But
That's a
this
good picture.
talks about our community, Madomic River Community Park. It's the opening. And then on the left, all the different
Okay, great. Yeah,
areas that you wanted to talk. So like rediscovering the site's history, I added an old photo
uh-huh.
Oh,
of
that's-
Look at the
Sylvania.
trucks.
That is
Oh my
great.
God.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Build trucks?
An old, well, that is what that
Oh,
was.
okay.
That's not the committee, but that's.
I know, I just.
We have a $5
I'm just
jar for
flagging it.
anybody
I'm
who
flagging
uses
it.
that name, but that's what it was.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Max wants us to put $5 in a jar if you.
It's the Julie.
That's a Julie thing.
That's, okay, you get credit.
But I love the old cars and everything, so that's the history page. Environmental safety, I need a different picture for here.
Yeah,
And then, environmental information and timeline of assessments here, I put, so you could click and you'll go to another page that has the documents.
yeah,
We can include more of those documents. The naming, I asked the school for pictures of the kids actually voting.
Oh, yeah.
Survey results. I need, like I said, more pictures.
yeah,
And then you can click here to still share your thoughts and takes the survey. Visualizing the park, I just did, the actual plan. And you can click on the plan, there's another copy of the plan. Exploring the rest of the site, that's like the one picture I think that I have of the property from the river.
mhm,
Right, another spot, sure.
Um, so that's, what we can do, and then we'll add pictures there. And then getting involved, what I'm going to do here, and I didn't have time to do it, but like, this is a link to the form to be on a committee, and then I thought I'd create a form they could fill out right on the website if there's something that they like or something they don't like. It will actually be an embedded
What we've
form,
seen, yeah.
so
great.
that's where we're at so far.
Thank
But I
you.
just need some more pictures.
Yeah,
and we
I can get
work
you
on-
some, and then if anyone else has,
Yeah, like pictures from the trail, I thought it'd be cool if you had anything from the trail looking out on the river, like some of those nice places that you
yeah,
delineated.
Yeah.
Is Jan willing to work on this?
Yeah, what about
Freezing rock.
Jan's aerials? He had.
Yeah, I
some-
can use
yeah, we
his,
can, we
yep.
can, yes.
I can use some of his.
Yeah,
That might be good for the, Opening.
But like I said, I started this morning and it's been a busy
Yeah.
day, so this is as far as I got.
I think that's true.
Yeah,
it's
that's
great.
great.
is this the same as?
it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good, well
Yeah.
written.
Yes, yes.
Is there any way to make it one whole page scrolling with all these sections, or do you have to?
Yeah, that would be easier than,
So it gets on a phone, it gets really weird. That's why I
Yeah.
went with it,
Yeah.
would be multiple pages. I mean, I guess I could,
You'd
but
have to have it like as like one whole.
it's
thing.
a really long
Yeah, I
one
know, I
pager.
know.
And I kind of liked, what I could do though, is going back to this part, the initial page. I mean, I can put everything on one page. And then we could keep this too, in case people, if in case it's too much on a phone, they could just click over here like, oh, look, environmental safety.
Could we probably just have the front page be like,
All of it.
well, I was gonna say a brief summary of some of these items.
Well, I can just put it all on this page, which is fine on a computer, but most people look at stuff on a phone now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
So that was why I thought it would be easier, but I can do both. How about we do both? I
Yeah, you
like
can
the
do
idea
both.
of both.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. I think that's great.
I just need help with pictures. that's all.
Yeah, okay, I'll find some more,
And
and
that's our Centennial Oak.
oh, I've seen.
if others have
Oh.
pictures to submit, then you should share those with us.
Yeah.
So anyone who has some interesting photos, let's just send them
Yeah,
along
that'd be
to.
good.
Yeah,
Send
send them to actually mine, the town manager at
To you?
Waldeboro, Maine.
Okay. all
Yeah,
right, we'll
because
do that.
it'll be me who's keeper of I'm putting it all in a file so that if I get hit by a bus or anything.
You're gonna like take this down as soon as the meeting's over?
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
just because there's some of the
No.
links don't work
I know.
and I don't wanna, but I wanted you guys to be able to see it.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
And I-
Share it with one other person I wanted to share with Conrad to get his thoughts, so,
If he goes on there right now.
yeah.
I can leave it up for the night. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want? I
Take it
just-
down first thing tomorrow morning.
I'll take it down first thing tomorrow morning.
But what is it under there? Committee?
You
not
can just go
committees,
under,
committees,
just
got
for
it.
right now, it's
Yeah.
under committees.
Yeah.
And the Madomic River Community Park Committee,
Yeah, I got it.
and you go in there.
If we
I
have
That's great.
any, I only had one edit. I
Yeah,
told you, did you?
yeah, we can change it, yeah,
Just let me know.
I'll forward all the
I
edits once I
thought
compile them.
Mike's environmental chat, his info sheet might be good on the environmental.
Yeah, I know, I just, thank you for
Yeah.
emailing it to me, I got it.
Okay.
But I just got it, so I'm gonna just put it into
Just
similar
Tell
language.
me what you need, I'll make it
Okay.
happen. How's that?
Yeah, I was just gonna incorporate now that I have it into how we're speaking in these other ways.
Yeah.
And the timeline as well, can you
Yeah, I'll send you
send
that.
it to me? Those are the only components that I was missing.
This is great because I'm gonna trash all my files and just go to the website whenever I want to.
Well, it's just, it takes a little bit, but it's.
Yeah.
It's so much easier for me because I'm not as creative about websites, so if I have something to follow, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
much
yeah.
more creative.
Yeah.
Once I see it, it's much easier for me.
Wonderful. Really.
Thank-
Yeah, I think it looks
Yeah, I
great.
thought it looked, one of Mike sent out earlier.
Yeah, does anybody have any comments about the content?
I like
I mean, we
it.
could do a final edit before we make it go live, once you see it all done. But
It's really good.
I scarcely noted anything that I would comment. on.
Right.
Thorough.
Will there be a photo gallery of what some of the features might
can
look
do
like?
that.
yeah, that was one of my ideas I had.
Yeah, that was in there.
Yeah,
That was in
So
there.
that's where photos from you would be really key.
Okay.
And also, I was just gonna say before we move on to this, do you want to come and walk these trail areas?
yes, I would like to.
Okay, because I was wondering if we can like mark kind of areas where things could happen.
Right, right.
Great.
Okay, so Susan should come when we go walk the site.
Will it be within the next 2 weeks?
It doesn't have to be within the
Which-
next two.
Well,
We just need to peck away at it because we're gonna have to produce numbers,
okay,
engineering numbers.
okay.
dollar
Are you
figures.
not available for 2 weeks?
I'm away for 2 weeks starting. on
Okay,
the
so
18th.
when you get back,
Yeah. We'll make
Okay.
it work.
Yeah.
Okay,
when you get back, right when you get back.
great. I would love to be there. Thank you.
Well, that's inspiring. That's very cool.
I'm starting. We're
Uh,
getting inspired.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
it's nice to have.
great new phase. The signage was an item I saw. Yeah, signage.
So a couple of things with signage. We are in the process, and then when you leave here today, if you look at our 3 signboards out in the lobby, you can vote. The Economic Development Committee was looking at, we've hired a professional to help design what the new signage in town should be when you come into town, and what is presented to the select board as the finalist, once we get all kinds of input, we're gonna try to make all of our signage cohesive in town.
That's cool.
So,
It's a great idea.
well, it's been in the works, it's just trying to get it there. So what we would do is, so that the transfer station sign, the recreation
Yeah.
sign, park signs, downtown signs, all have a common theme to them. So that's where we are with
That's
signs
great.
for the town. So I would just wait before we start investing money. The rec committee just put up a new sign, but it was a very small amount of money. Because they definitely need a new sign at the ball fields, but. Even that can be all redesigned and incorporated into what the new look is.
Very,
going to be.
very smart. Have an identity.
I was just thinking of doing this versus what we would have on Route 1, a smaller scale mock-up of one of the ones to see how they look, one of the ones that we're working on in the Economic Development Committee. So we're meeting tomorrow, right, tomorrow evening. And so we can talk about what possibilities we could suggest to you that we have that might fit for the park. How's that sound?
But you wanna put up mock versions of the ones people are voting on?
Well, I'm just, I don't know what I want to do, but it's a thought, it's a suggestion.
Well, the other thing I'll say on the concept side, the three you'll see out are concept, they're not gonna be final drafts.
Yeah.
It's just more of what design we should continue looking at and tweaking at. There is gonna be an online survey as well that I'm gonna be working on and hopefully having live tomorrow as well. So even if you don't vote here, or if you know someone who wants to vote, we'll send out a link and hopefully it'll be on Facebook too, Julie.
Just let me know.
Have to give her advance notice as in right now.
I'm not sure what you're asking, because it sounds like we're,
There's
So will we
still voting.
get, so will we get around to maybe having it winnowed down after the review? We could do a mock-up that might go on
oh, I see, okay.
to see how it looks. Put it out, rather than, it can be a smaller version
For the park. so,
for the park.
Okay, gotcha.
Anybody have any problem with it? Just a thought.
Yeah,
It's probably a topic when
Yeah.
the sign's been decided first.
Right.
Yeah.
And the voting's gonna be available on the town website and
You can go into the hallway right now and vote, just
Yeah.
write on a sticky note, but I will put up a survey later.
okay,
Sticky notes, so.
so
Yeah, there's
town website,
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah.
What's new in Walboro?
It'll
It'll
eventually
be
make its way there.
It'll,
Rebecca's on right now. She'll.
Rebecca, do it for us. All
She'll probably just.
it will be
She's
forwarded.
probably gonna put it on sharing it too.
right. Give everybody a chance.
Mhm.
Well, that's terrific. Standardizing signs is a very smart idea.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great.
Identity.
That's
Mhm.
gotta-
Are we, wait, we're still on an agenda, we're still on signs here.
Yes, yes, indeed. A long time ago, when we had parks throughout Kent County, Delaware, we simply, of necessity, adopted the state park format, coloring and so on, because it was a much larger geography. But it's it served us well, I thought, because it was very instantaneously recognizable, and these will become instantaneously recognizable. That's very good. If we need to talk about the renamed committee, its authorization, the path forward administratively, I guess.
So at the last select board meeting, the new official name is the Madomic River Community Park Committee. And the select board is, that's why you were all asked if you were interested in serving on the new committee. Because they think we've reached the point where we are
Yeah.
again at a different phase in development of the park. So they wanted, the select board wanted to know who wanted to remain on the committee. And also reach out to get a more, so for instance, the committee is comprised right now. There are, as far as I'm aware, there's no parents with kids that are going to be a big part of this, things like that. So we wanted to do some outreach, and we wanted to also make sure that the people who have been on it, if you want to express interest to remain on the committee, we'd like to know that. So then they will, over the next month, go over what that committee will, like, who will be appointed to the committee. But also, they're going to discuss at their meeting what they want to see. So we'll give the list of they will give you their expectations of what they want to see from the committee, and what some clarification on what the roles are. Because it seems like at times, if Max or I aren't here, or that nobody's sure what the roles are.
Yeah.
So the role of this committee is to make recommendations to the select board. So we just want to make sure everybody understands and is very clear of what we're doing as we go into this next phase, which is kind of exciting. I mean, this is the most exciting part of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You know, it's really getting to the point where there's gonna be some cool things happening.
Yeah.
It's,
Uh,
go ahead.
I did want to pass on that Matt Day, he's extraordinarily busy. He probably drives 600-700 miles a week to his project sites. He said that while he cannot remain on the committee, but he's enthusiastic about remaining as a resource for procurement, design, working with a contractor or advising us in transmittals to the contractors. So we have a wonderful resource out there. He's still affectionate, connected to this committee, but he's declining to continue with the committee.
Has Johnny said anything?
Yeah, Johnny let somebody know that he's not interested.
Okay.
It's unfortunate that the National Park Service doesn't look like it's gonna be a help to us, but in the application that we created, we did list the 4 key areas that we need help and direction with. So I'm assuming that the select board will take that as a framework for the roles and priorities of the committee.
Good point.
1 being design, landscape designer, 2 being community engagement, letting people know and gathering feedback, 3 being securing funding, which I know it's your job, but you know, is ongoing no matter. And then 4, thinking about the long-term maintenance and sustainability of the park. So what do we need to be doing now to put into place an organization that would help for that? So I'm assuming those are really that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's well said.
So hopefully we can find some people who have some interest in working on one of those more than others.
I think we will. I'm thinking-
What are you looking at in terms of the activities and tasks that committee would have and the expertise that would need to be on?
Well,
Those
that right
areas.
there,
Oh, okay.
that's it.
Yeah.
And really, I think the goal is to find people who are, you know, going to be using the park too. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things that we heard feedback on is, you know, making sure that there is representation from the groups that would be utilizing it. So, and even thinking about what organizations might be utilizing it and things, and maybe get a rep from those organizations.
Yeah, no, obviously, I think that's
Yeah.
the super as important as any of these other things, but if someone is simply serving that role, they're simply showing up and say, you should do this, this, and this, and you should know about it. But now that I've been involved a little while, I'm like, okay, but these are the things, as you know, that need to get done
Right.
in order to actually produce the park. So we should
Right.
have that represented, and then
Mhm.
we should be finding ways to move forward with these other roles,
Right.
as you know. I'm just stating it for the record.
And does the select board have this? Just to send them the 4 things?
I can make sure they have it.
Be helpful for them, I would think.
Mhm.
Yeah, very good. So we've established there's a need to actually fill out an application again.
As long as I have your old applications, as long as I have something that says that I can present them and say, here's their former application, here's their letter of intent to want to serve again.
Okay, I'm sure all of us would be glad to offer whatever helps you get that accomplished.
What about having any very young people on the committee,
You know, it'd be nice.
high school students or middle school students that represent the children who would be using the park?
Mhm.
I mean, we could even have an elementary school kid on the park, that committee.
Well,
Like they're articulate, but I mean, or at least we're seeking their input.
yeah, I mean, typically, my experience in that has been limited to typically it's high school and up.
Yeah,
But we could invite a group of children in for one of our, like a listening
And if-
session.
yeah.
Now, that's a
Of-
smart idea.
I think it'd be good for them too.
Right,
Yes.
so I think that, and they got very into the whole naming of the park, so I think that is something that maybe we could plan on for like maybe September, or October of having a listening session with the younger ones versus having somebody sit here. Yeah, versus, because like they're only gonna go up to, like Miller's only gonna be this year, I think, kindergarten, preschool to 5th, and then, so, you know, maybe 9th to 12th.
Yeah.
And that's the hard age group right there, that 9th to 12th
To get involved.
to get involved.
Yeah.
So that might
Yeah.
be something fun.
Yeah.
But I know that there's some organizations and some other, we might want. I think it'll be good to have that represented because we've not had that. And I worry about that, not just with this committee, but with all our
Yeah.
committees, is that they all tend to look alike. And certain demographic and age. And I think it's, we've got 2 people under the age of 40 running, I think, for our budget committee this year.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is, because I don't think they've been represented
Hmm.
in the past on our budget committee, at least since I've been here. So,
That's the problem with food pantry too.
That's who has the
Mhm.
time to
One
volunteer.
agent.
when it's important.
mhm.
Yeah. Do you ever, has the town ever done a youth and government day? It's a national thing. We did it every year. I used to cringe in anticipation, then I loved it when it happened. But what we had is, students would come in, they're all high school students. They would come in and they would participate in, committee meetings for the levy court and committee meetings, with the Parks and Recreation.
So
Commission.
not in Waldeboro, but it
Yeah.
was very big in New Jersey, and we did
Was
it
it?
every year in New Jersey,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
We have a
The-
civics teacher at the elementary school,
So, I mean, my experience since I've been in Waldeboro is this is the naming of the park was the first time we didn't had that kind of a
How
joint
about that? Okay.
effort with the school.
Okay,
But
Well-
yeah, it would be fun.
yeah, something to think about. Sure. I like the idea. Like I say, I used to cringe in the anticipation and then I enjoyed the whole day.
Oh, it was always, we used to do 2 weeks of it, in New Jersey. There was like
Really?
2 weeks where, we had our elementary school come in. And then we would do the high school and they would come in and we would have different classes, because there was just so many. We would just have them come in and we would do a mock court, because we used to have municipal court, a mock, select board meeting, mock elections. So we did like each kind of a branch of the government. It
Right.
was actually really interesting. And I was actually asked a couple of times, I think there was like 5 years there where for one semester, 4 times in that semester, I would go in and speak about local government. So it was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in our spare time, that would be great. We need it.
and each one of our departments would go in. So like we'd have, our public works department head go in, our police department, obviously, fire. We'd have our court administrator go in. It was really kind of fun. They enjoyed it.
Yep. Yeah, I remember well, what we did. I mean, I just was the park side, but the guys at EMS, they said they had a
Mhm.
blast with the kids coming in and being a part of it, shadowing them a little bit, doing preparation stuff, yeah. So it strikes me as an extremely efficient meeting, which is kind of a nice thing.
I'm still trying to get
Yeah,
a question here.
Okay,
Mike, how the food pantry thing go?
Well, there is definitely 2 camps. And I
Oh.
can't tell which has the largest number of adherents. I think Heidi seemed very amenable to the idea of building something there, but there were some really people with their heels dug firmly in the ground against it. What would you say, Max? Would you say it was 50-50 or closer to 30-70?
The campsite, it seemed, I think the majority camp was, or at least half the camp was, if we can find another spot, that'd be better. That's the impression I got. I didn't, it seemed like I think people were still just curious about some questions. I didn't have answers from DEP yet, that they sent ahead of time. I still don't have those responses.
Do you have those in writing, those questions you sent to DEP?
Yeah,
We talked about
they
it,
were,
but
the food pantry sent me those questions and
could you forward those to me, please? Do you mind?
I can send them, yeah.
I've answered the insurance question about 5 times, being an insurance expert. So,
Which I'd have to, I want to talk to you afterwards about part of the banter you gave
the
them.
draft.
Yes, I know, I want to talk to you about the insurance thing afterwards, but
It's crazy.
as for everything else, it's it seems like the negative stigma of a contaminated or an industrial site and it's now being used for food pantry, and here's the environmental covenant saying you can't do residential, so why is food preparation fine, even though if food preparation wasn't fine, they would have said it in the environmental covenant. And Janet, actually, they mentioned something you said at the last meeting, that there was a 1999 report.
Yeah, that said that it was controlled.
It was controlled, yes, and I handed
Which
out
you
a copy of
referenced
that
it in-
document
Right.
to Heidi, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that there's absolutely no risk, but if we use it as Steve is saying we do, then.
Right.
And I think it's,
controlled, you know?
So I think,
No.
just to get, I think there are just a few people, and I think that the others don't want to overlord those few people who had been led the pantry.
I don't really want to get into assumptions or anything about the food pantry or anything like.
well,
that.
I mean, it comes down to the fact that it was offered to them as a way to save money so that they could not have to spend a lot of money on the infrastructure that they think they need. If they decide that it's not their way, it's really, we're not forcing this upon them. It was an offer to say.
Something I said, I don't
Yeah.
have a dog in this.
But no, I mean,
know.
it's a way to save. I mean, I don't know how
I
much.
was on the board, and I worked on the specific thing to get the building well, get a building, first of all, what type,
Right.
et cetera, and then, what would be the best opportunity, and, the Dominic River Community Park.
You don't owe us $5.
It was such a windfall for us. And there are a few people, and I appreciate, the food pantry and Heidi respecting their concerns, but there's a certain point where the science and what all of you have done has to prevail, and that's up to her.
I told them flat out, there is no problem building anything on that site. With adequate construction controls, you can control vapor permeation through the basement. And you can control any leakage of contamination into the building. That is not an issue, it'd absolutely be safe. But there's still a lot of resistance on that committee.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that came up was, of course, digging in the soil. Well, how are you gonna build a foundation? And I specifically addressed that question. Because as I go to Augusta several times a week, and there's a new building going up on Route 17, I think it's in Chelsea. But it's a very large building, and it's slab on grade construction. Which is exactly what you'd want to build there. So you could actually build everything on top of the existing site. You wouldn't have to turn a shovel to build a building.
Yeah, right.
So, and, vapor barrier, ventilating the subfloor underneath the basement, number of air changes per hour, there's all sorts of technical, and if you wanted to have multiple layers of these things, you could build a fortress and imagine not a single molecule of perk could get in. So I actually went to the map on that issue. It's absolutely safe to build food pantry on that site.
Did they
We have
respond?
a
and just-
huge need, place we have is rented, it's not big enough, we do 2 times a month. And, this is just, such a gift, and,
But it sounds like the people who,
and so they're, if those that were not speaking up would speak up, I think it would be a clearer debate there.
Well, they might just have to finally push it to a vote and take a vote and
We've
then,
done that. That's why Heidi and I came here, and then that was the night that those letters came in.
Oh, okay.
It was like, I tell you, it was the worst, those 2 days, this is not about me, but it was really difficult for me to come here.
Excuse me.
Said we're interested, have those letters come in.
The next day.
It was,
24 hours later.
and to make sure there wasn't any peripheral damage.
it's hard. I mean, we offered. And it's just,
I mean, that is a perfect site for food pantry. Sidewalks, state roof,
Yeah.
power, water, sewer,
Well,
three-phase electricity.
Yeah, I have to throw that one in.
I'm thinking of doing a letter to
Well,
Cheddar.
Well, so it
Well-
sounds like you're not gonna convince the people you're not gonna convince.
Yeah.
Based on this logic that makes
Right.
perfect sense to me, to you, to
Right.
most of us here. So then the next question is, how do you create additional awareness or change the stakes of the conversation or the partners in the conversation to move it in another direction by bringing in more people to sway it in a vote, whatever it is, and writing a letter, drawing attention to the public
That's the
level
next
would be
step.
one way to do that.
Yeah, it's the next step. And to respect the difficulties that the food pantry has for those people who are just mindset. But at some point in time, that can't hold up our feeding those who really need food.
True.
That's what it's about, say $300,000.
Just one question for you, Mike. I mean, when you told them your assessment, were they receptive at all? I mean, do you think they believed you, or it's such a black and white issue?
There were a couple of comments one comment in particular that really bothered me. I brought visual aids with me. I brought a circular saw blade and why did I bring
In a
a circular-
non-threatening way.
In a non-threatening way.
And I brought it because they wanted to know what was on the site, and I said, this is a carbide saw blade. Well, carbide saw blade is made from tungsten carbide, so you can buy tungsten jewelry. So I had this bit of tungsten that I held in the air. It's not toxic. And we talked about molybdenum, and I brought a tube of moly grease that I got. It wasn't at Union Farm, it was at the other one, United Ag and Turf. I bought a tube of moly grease with me and I said, this is 5% molybdenum. I just got down to the store yesterday and I bought 5% molybdenum. And somebody challenged me on that. Yeah, molybdenum can be toxic. Well,
That's what he said.
I'm probably prejudiced because I am a chemist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everything is toxic at some level. You can die from drinking distilled water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, you'll get a condition called hyponatremia. So everything is a toxic at some point, but these people, they just had their heels dug in. They didn't want to listen. And that's where it was.
That's discouraging. And then my other question was if there had been I saw the article in Lincoln County about looking for a site. And has there been any response yet? It's only been a week or whatever, but
No, not that I'm aware of.
I don't know. They haven't shared that with us.
okay.
I'm kind of curious, what were the people older, middle-aged, young?
Everyone was my age or so, except for one. It was younger.
Well-
I love Mike. Everybody's my age.
Well, because
The
that
main
can also,
demographic.
Mike's point, develop a strategy
Mm.
as to how you deal with that age group. And you salt in other people that will,
Less crystallized
Rest-
thinking.
well,
Well, it is their board. I mean.
Well, that's the thing,
it's
that- it's their
institutional
board.
level
It's
strategy.
institutional.
Yeah.
Which Alec would understand. Then there's the public, what else is going on around it? You can go after that
Yeah,
too.
it's
Yeah,
hard.
it is
Yeah, so
tough.
I was trying to change the paradigm myself by coming here and being kind of a link.
Mhm.
And,
Well, it may come to a point where they have no place to go.
Right.
Well,
and I would have pulled my hair out.
Yeah.
and said
Mhm.
things that I
And
wouldn't
that's
wanna
really
have said
what
if I'd
push
stayed.
will come to shove.
and I think that's where I'm a
That's all
bit,
right.
where
Get out.
because I brought it up at the
Yeah.
meeting as well.
I get that.
I don't even think they need to really commit to say, this is definitely where we want to go. If they just want it as a backup location, I offered that many times at the meeting. We don't need you to tell us you're gonna be there next year, just saying it'd be a nice option if we can't find any other spot. Where else are they gonna go? But I don't even think they could commit to that at the
It's just,
meeting. So that's another very telling sign I
You know,
find.
and it's a community, it's really, the food pantry can play a material role in the park. And everybody getting funding and they have all done it for together.
Right.
And I really am, it's unfortunate that this inability to accept experts' opinions.
Well, especially when your funding's been cut And you're,
It's
and you're,
desperate. I-
and you're gonna invest an
Yeah.
extra $200,000 or $300,000 into a building that you could be putting into food.
I've been
That's
working on this since last year because I've seen
gonna
this
be-
coming.
it's, yeah,
Flat out.
it's
I've
just
spent
gonna happen,
thousands of
but
hours looking
that's
at
that, like you said, Michael, it's their board, it's their board decision, so.
Right,
you know,
Gotta work on that board.
Yep,
that's right. Change the
Gotta
board.
move people in and out.
Yeah.
but that's not a town board, that's a
No.
separate
Right.
That's right.
entity.
So
Yeah, it's
we can
public. Did you hear that?
If and when they come around.
And I think everybody recognizes there's a real synergy. It's healthy and it's right.
Yeah,
But
well,
we
that's
we
the-
can only do
that's-
what we can.
that's the letter of the letter.
All right, so where are we? Are we good?
I think we're good.
I do just have a quick minor thing. I did follow up with Ledvance and DEP just because there was some new leadership changes and everything. Just a few things they said. They are gonna work on the covenant because they do recognize what we want to do for the park and the food pantry, so. The shed and a lot of the wells are gonna get capped, and that's gonna be done in a timeline. They're working on that with us. They will get us a Sandpoint report, although every time they keep saying that, they then kick the can and forget, so
Okay.
I'm gonna remind them again.
Yeah, it's of interest.
We can do very minor digging for, because Janet, that was one of your questions for like trees and everything
Mhm.
on the concrete pad. That is something we can do.
Good.
We can also remove invasive species. They would prefer us not to use pesticides. If it's something where we can just dig it right out of the ground,
Herbicide.
herbicide.
Okay, well, that's good. That
Perfectly
deserves a seal.
fine, as long as we just deal with it on site.
Can they do addendums to the covenant?
They don't,
Not to redo the covenant, but do addendums to the
it
covenant.
depends what the addendums are.
Yeah.
Like right now, what this was, based on just us doing the park. A lot of it's not digging, a lot of it is just outdoor play, and so that I don't have to keep bothering Max Lewick every 5 seconds about, can we dig over here, can we do this over there?
Yeah, that's good.
His is, they're just trying to work on, we can phase out some of the groundwater testing so that they can mess with that whole area for a park. But
I'm kind of talking about redacting some of the things that are confusing people, particularly at the food pantry that they brought up during that.
I mean,
Like an RVs, no RVs on there, no, stuff like that.
No RVs. I don't remember that.
for camping,
Okay,
Oh, well, that makes sense.
is it camping? Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
the whole thing was more camping focused.
Yeah, I got you.
Although, I don't know, maybe we should prohibit an RVs on the site, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that might be something we might want to manage, yes. For our own
Although,
business.
Jim's giving me a look, but I also know that the Boulder Day folks meet at 6, so I don't wanna hang up too much, but that was just an update I wanted to give
That's
everyone.
just parking something. We're not talking about not parking an RV. No, we're talking
Yeah.
about
Overnight.
Camping.
establishing
Yeah, I
overnight
get it,
RV
yeah.
parking. RV operations and camping. So,
Yeah, that was a minor thing I wanted to say.
okay. And I'm not bringing up the invasive species tonight because I haven't taken the time to correspond with the Cooperative Extension Service or the Forest Service who operate the two grant venues for us. So we'll do that next month. And let's see, good housekeeping. Are there any other comments from the committee outside of our last agenda items? No.
Nope.
All right, and that said, I think our next meeting would be June 2nd, the first Monday in June. And all those ready to adjourn, Mo, the second, please. Jim, and
Move to adjourn.
Oh, I'm not.
Second.
I'm not.
Yeah, not yet.
I can't be heard.
Okay.
All right, Jim and